Fair warning for spoilers if you haven't seen the Uglydolls movie. Uglydolls, a movie that has cursed us with its presence since 2019. I remember before the movie even came out, I was getting recommendations and ads for the trailers, particularly the ugly truth scene. At one point, I chose to sit through an ad, and the main antagonist caught my eye very quickly. At the time, I was only like 12, so I didn't really care to look at his character deeper than, ooh, hot boy hot. I actually have very vivid and cringeworthy memories of simping over this Disney Channel love interest motherfucker. But now I actually think he's a pretty sad character. I've thought a lot about why things happen the way they did in the movie and just chalked it up to what everyone else thinks. The movie is an absolute dumpster fire. There are approximately 3 types of quote-unquote fans of the Uglydolls movie. The first type is the type that are usually like 9 to 12-year-old girls who think Lou is hot, which, I mean, like, fair. For a chibi-esque, doll, he is actually pretty fine. But the second type is the type that think that the movie's storyline was good if poorly executed, but either don't care about or really hate Lou. Some people fucking want him dead. And then there's the third type, the truly enlightened few, aka the one that holds my opinion. Lou is tragic, and the story does a terrible job of portraying how sad he is. Hopefully you watched the movie, because I don't care to spend 15 minutes talking about why the movie exists and how it went. But there are a lot of problems with the way the movie ended. Like, I'm sure if you're watching this video, you're pretty interested in hearing about that. But, Moxie and her friends are the protagonists of this kid's movie, so they obviously get a happy ending. For those of you who don't remember or have pushed the memories of this movie out of your mind ever since it was first released and it first cursed your godforsaken eyes, Moxie was the pink one, Bobo was the gray one, Ox was the green one, Wage was the orange one, and Ugly Dog was the blue one. I might be missing. The Lucky Bat was the red one. Anyway, I would argue that Lou is a much better character than Moxie and her friends, and he deserves some sort of good ending. I like to compare Lou with Sunset Shimmer from the first My Little Pony movie. And I have a few reasons for this, but my first one is they did basically the same thing. Sure, Sunset Shimmer's original goal wasn't to destroy the portal. She just wanted the crown. She just wanted Twilight's crown for the power that came with it. Whereas Lou just wanted to destroy the portal so that nobody could leave his reality, basically. But they did basically the same thing, but only one of them gets a pass for it. If anything, I'd argue what Sunset Shimmer did was a little worse, considering with that crown, she could do a lot of things that shouldn't be given to someone with, the issues that she had at the time. Regardless, I digress. Lou and Sunset Shimmer, they're both the antagonists of their movies, at least Sunset Shimmer, the first one, and both had good motives for why they were evil. I don't remember Sunset Shimmer's reasoning because I haven't watched the movie in quite a few years, but I think it's something along the lines of she wasn't living up to Celestia's expectations, and so she fled to, the Equestria Girls world where they're all humans. But anyway, the difference here with Lou and Sunset Shimmer is that Sunset was forgiven. She was given a second chance at the end of My Little Pony Equestria Girls, whereas Lou didn't receive the same treatment. If anything, he got tenfold worse. After he was defeated, Moxie asked what his punishment should be. She's like, any suggestions? And other dolls in the crowd start suggesting shit like tear his stuffing out or let the dog have him. They're literally suggesting murder for dolls, stuffing is their fucking organs. So, like, whichever doll said that's probably a little sick in the head. But when Sunset Shimmer was defeated, Twilight Sparkle forgave her and, like, had this whole monologue about, like, friendship can save everything. I don't fucking remember. She offered her another chance to be a good person. And by the second movie, Rainbow Rocks, it was definitely harder for a lot of the characters to trust her, and if anything, they were kind of mean to her, but it's better than not being forgiven at all. My girlfriend, actually, she told me Lou is a good villain in a bad movie, and I couldn't agree more. I've always thought a good villain has, like, 3 main traits. It's like the 3 main things for you to be a good villain. A reasonable motive, a relatable backstory, and they need to have the ability to pose a threat. Lou has a great motive for doing the things he does. He's a prototype, and for those of you who, again, don't remember, prototype, he can't go to the big world. He's unable to leave the Institute of Perfection and go to the big world to receive the love and attention that every other doll gets. To put it in perspective, because a lot of people have a hard time understanding how fucked up that is, to put it in perspective, imagine if you lived in a world where you didn't have, like, parents or siblings or anything, like, no family, and everyone around you died. Not in the normal, like, human lifespan of 80 years, by the way, but only in maybe 3 years, or not 3 years, 3 days. Like, say you're immortal and this happens, you just watch everyone, like, in, like, 3 days die. You couldn't establish connections with people because they were just gonna die anyway. But you're forced to live forever, and everyone around you dies. This is basically Lou's situation, if a little bit darker, because every doll who comes through the Institute of Perfection and goes through his training and runs the gauntlet, they get to leave for the big world without him, and he can't go because he's a prototype. Next is the relatable backstory point. Lou sure as shit has a relatable backstory. I mean, okay, to be fair, he's like a fictional perfect doll. It's kind of hard to have a relatable backstory, but they do a good job of giving him a relatable backstory. So we learn about halfway into the movie, after the all dolled up scene, that Ox showed up into the Institute of Perfection by some accident, even though he was, you know, a messed up doll. But Lou showed him kindness and befriended him. He didn't shun him away like the other perfect dolls did, which, you know, is quite a contrast to how he acted whenever whenever Moxie and her friends showed up. So, they're friends, like, for quite a while. They don't really give a time span, but it's reportedly before Uglyville even existed, so a very long time, I would assume. So Ox starts trying to train to go to the big world, though, and Lou lets him. However, Ox says that he just messed everything up for the pretty dolls, which caused them to resent him and want him recycled, which recycling is it's just death. For the dolls, it's just death. Getting recycled is going into this big thing and just having all of your parts, like, gored up, basically, so that you can be turned into a doll that isn't defective. So, you know, little messed up. But Lou led him to the secret passageway, if you remember, in those pipes that leads to Uglyville. What does this have to do with Lou's backstory? I can hear you asking now. Shut the fuck up, because I'm not there yet. Later in the movie, when Lou snaps, he proclaims that Ox was going to leave him just like the others, and while this doesn't seem to reveal much at first, it gives us greater insight into the way Lou feels and why he became such a dickhead. He thought Ox would stay with him forever, that there was no way he would even dream of going to the big world, but Ox still tried, causing Lou to experience avoidant personality disorder. You can say I'm reading too much into things, but avoidant personality disorder is a mental illness where one essentially shuts off all social communication for fear of being rejected. It's a little similar to social anxiety, but also a little different. Oh, but he's so extroverted. He has such great stage presence, I hear you saying. Other than the ugly truth and his training, when do we really see him interacting with anyone on a deeper level? We don't. We do not. Anyway, so how's this relatable to the audience? It's a lot to take in. How is it relatable at all? Well, I mean, haven't we all experienced a situation where a friend has left us or forgotten about us, or we've had to leave a friend because they weren't a good person? I mean, maybe younger kids, the target audience, haven't, but it's something everyone goes through at some point in their life. I know I have. I've had a lot of friendships fall through the cracks in my life. It's just a thing that happens, but this is, a little more significant because Lou never had a friend like that. But anyway, so now for my final point, posing a threat. Lou can absolutely pose a threat to others. Firstly, his power within the Institute of Perfection gives him influence over the other dolls. They hate the Uglydolls, not only because of their, appearance, which honestly, the Uglydolls are kind of cute. They're, adorable. They're not actually that ugly, but anyway. They hate the Uglydolls not only because of the way they look, but because Lou hates them as well. Think of him as Heather Chandler or Regina George, if you've seen Heathers or Mean Girls. He could ruin a character's reputation in an instant. It's just him disliking someone and boom, nobody else likes them. But second of all, and this is where it gets a little dark, we know his mental state isn't the greatest, as murder is not out of the question for him. He tried to get Moxie and Mandy recycled because he knew that Moxie was going to try to come back. And Mandy was, assisting her, essentially. But in other words, this crossing him isn't a good idea, nor is it a safe idea. It's like poking a sleeping bear, basically. But I'm going to move on now. I've spent a page and a half talking about Lou himself, but I haven't actually covered the main characters, specifically the characters from Uglyville. They're horrible protagonists, horrible people for the kids to think are the good ones. Okay, that's an overstatement. I did like Wage and Lucky Bat because they're the only ones who seem to have any common fucking sense. But the other four, I've got a lot of problems with. Firstly, the main protagonist herself, Moxie, portrayed as a disgustingly sugary sweet character with no flaws other than maybe a bit of naivety, and the other characters think she's a little annoying. Now, why don't I like her? What could this harmless, bubblegum, pink, stupid fucking Kelly Clarkson voice-acted bitch, what could she possibly have that would make me so mad at her? Well, she's selfish as shit. I don't know if anyone else remembers this movie, but she's selfish as shit. She forces her friends to explore beyond Uglyville by guilt-tripping them, even when Wage, Lucky Bat, and Bobo don't seem very comfortable with doing so, which is reasonable since it could be incredibly dangerous. That's like if I went up to my girlfriend and said, "Hey, Sergeant Spaceman, I want to find out if the Christian afterlife is real. So let's hop in a rocket ship and fly to outer space until we find heaven." And then I get all mopey when she tells me she's batshit, or when she tells me I'm batshit crazy. Second of all, she's a dick to Lou, an absolute asshole to him. All of her, "Ooh, Will, I'm so sweet" personality is dead whenever she's talking to this motherfucker. So after he gets defeated, she just sits there and lets everyone insult him and threaten his life, almost like she's thinking over everyone's violent fucking suggestions. If it weren't for Nolan suggesting the washing machine, I'm pretty sure Lou would have been killed. But it's a kid's movie, so they can't actually, kill him. But anyway, isn't she supposed to be the really sweet and kind one? And isn't this movie about, finding yourself herself and accepting herself and rah, 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 rah. So positive and happy. You would think she would be more willing to forgive him. You'd think she'd be more willing to forgive Lou than fucking Twilight Sparkle would be willing to forgive Sunset Shimmer. Like, I don't like her. I hate her, actually. She's, like, my least favorite character. But, anyway, I'm gonna move on from her before I get really fucking mad. Next up is Ox, actually. I kind of like him because I do think he's a good character. It's just that he wasn't written well. He's kind of like Lou, except the difference is that Lou actually was written well. He was just given a really shitty fucking ending. But anyway, yeah, he's a pretty decent character, but Jesus Christ. So first he leaves his best friend, not even attempting to contact him for God knows how long, presumably before Moxie came to Uglyville in the first place. So I'd say at least a few decades, because Moxie has presumably been there for a while. And I mean, I guess I can understand at least trying to go to the big world, but he just left Lou alone, and I'm pretty sure Ox knew about Lou being a prototype, since he was the least shocked with that reveal. That says something to me, is that he wasn't shocked at all, really. Plus, they were extremely close. Like, they were really close. They were best buds. They were extremely close, so I'm pretty sure Lou would have trusted Ox with the information, like, hey, I'm a prototype. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a heart-to-heart about that. Because I'm sure Ox would have questioned, like, why aren't you going to the big world? You're perfect. So anyway, Ox abandons his friend for, like, pretty selfish reasons, honestly. Like, not as selfish as Moxie, but there were still pretty fucking selfish reasons. And then has the gall to be, like, absolutely surprised, absolutely fucking gobsmacked that Lou is angry at him. During their fight, Ox literally says, "What happened to you? We were like brothers." Oh, I don't know, maybe you contributed to his crippling abandonment issues. Like, he has so many things mentally wrong with him, and like, yes, it's a kids movie, so technically if I were to tweet it like Nick Jonas or whoever the fuck worked on the movie and say like, hey, does Lou have OCD? I'm sure they'd be like, this is a kids movie, why are you tweeting us about this? But clearly he has issues that his friend just like made worse. Anyway, yeah, I got a little fucking mad there. But next is Bobo. This is a pretty short explanation. I'm not actually that mad at him. It's just that he's a useless character. I mean, he has a bunch of, like, stuff in his little flesh pockets. Like, that's cool, but he doesn't have any sort of personality. He's just there to be, like, a gentle giant, because he's really sweet and quiet, and that's about it. But there's not much else. And then finally, for, you know, the four main characters that I hate, is Uglydog. And I know some of you are probably mad at me because Uglydog was kind of an icon, but it's not even that I hate him. I don't even really hate him. It's just, he was comedic relief and he was bad at it. Like, he's horrible comedic relief. This might just be because the movie was for, like, 6-year-olds, but I still cringed every time he did something, like, quote-unquote funny. He was trying to flirt with the pretty dolls, he was distracting the huge metal dog by, like, dancing or whatever, and it was just fucking cringy to me. And also he's voiced by Pitbull of all fucking people. Like, okay, Nick Jonas for Lou kind of makes sense. Nick Jonas has great stage presence and, you know, his voice, chef's kiss, immaculate, but why fucking Pitbull? I know that they spent most of their budget on celebrity voice actors so that people would watch the movie, but why Pitbull? Like, why Pitbull? You could have chosen any rapper, but why was it Pitbull? Like, I don't get that it was him. Like, is it because he was named after a dog or something? Like, that was a horrible joke, but I don't fucking Pitbull of all people. Anyway, I've said it over and over again, so I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but the ending is horrible. The protagonists win and the antagonist lose. And the antagonist loses, which I know is the standard model of storytelling, but I seriously do not understand why the antagonist wasn't given a pass in this case. He was very clearly sorry for his actions. You could hear how he was, like, literally fucking breaking in his voice. I mean, hell, maybe Nick should have tried to make Lou sound less apologetic. Maybe that would have done it some justice there. So what exactly happens? Well, Lou runs the gauntlet with the Uglydolls and loses. Originally, he said that he didn't even care about winning. He just wanted to make sure that the Uglydolls lost. But he was very adamant about winning halfway through the gauntlet, which is a huge inconsistency. And a lot of people agree that it's a huge inconsistency. Personally, I would like to headcanon he had never tried running the gauntlet before, and he thought he'd be able to get out if he won. And to me, this is just because of how sad and hopeless he looks when he gets out first, but, still loses. But then it's revealed the gauntlet isn't won by whoever gets out first. It's won by whoever shows love and affection to the weird fucking robot baby. Also, that robot baby gives me nightmares. I don't like it. But wouldn't Lou know about giving love and affection to the robot baby? I mean, he's watched dolls run the gauntlet hundreds, maybe even thousands of times. If we go with earlier, where it's like where this has been going on for like decades, maybe even like a century. Honestly, I just ignore that inconsistency because I think it's just plain stupid. I think it's just the movie fucking up, really. But anyway, after that, Lou reveals that he lost because he's a prototype, because the Spy Girls are like, oh my god, he lost, and he reveals that he's a prototype. Because I guess the movie decided to forget about the love and affection thing, like, homie kicks a baby. Like, okay, I know it's fucked up to kick a baby, but I fucking love that scene, and, like, I would too. Anyway, he starts having, like, a mental breakdown, really. He grabs this giant needle from, like, a nearby display of, like, balls of yarn and, like, some needles, and he starts running towards the portal to the big world, human world, where all the kids are, in order to break it. And as he's going to break it, Ox tries to stop him, he defeats Ox, and then breaks the portal. And it's then that Lucky Bat successfully disarms him, and he ends up being in the jaws of, like, the big robot dog, which I thought was weird, because this dog is a robot, kind of like those other robots that were just wandering around, like those humanoid robots. So the dog shouldn't be able to do whatever it wants. That's a very big oversight on their part, but I digress. Lou begs for forgiveness, and Moxie does not listen to him, as I have said. She listens to everyone else's suggestions to murder him, but then Nolan suggests tossing him in the washing machine. That happens, Moxie somehow repairs the portal, even though, again, it is made of glass and some sort of magic, and then the movie ends with Moxie going to the big world and being a Christmas gift for some bitch with a gap in her teeth. Like, this kid has a gap in her teeth, and Moxie also has a gap in her teeth, so it's like, ooh, special Uglydolls, because, ooh, I don't fucking know. I've already talked a lot about why the ending is utter crap, but what do I think should have happened? Like, what do I think, Director Jinx here, what happened, what would make this movie better? Well, a lot of older viewers, like around my age, argue that Lou should have been given a chance to go to the big world and experience love and happiness from a child, but I disagree for purely logistic reasons. Because outside of the dolls' world, the corporation obviously wouldn't just let Lou be sold. It physically can't happen. Or logistically, they can't just sell him. He's the prototype. He's the model doll. He's what the other dolls are supposed to look like. It's like if, I don't know, I can't even think of anything to fucking compare it to. But I do think Lou should have received a similar ending to, again, what Sunset Shimmer from Equestria Girls got. I think he should have been forgiven, because deep down he isn't just some superficial jerk. We've seen that deep down he isn't just some superficial jerk. We've never seen him be nice, but we know he's capable of it. But there's also no putting him out of power either, because at the end of the movie they act like they put him out of power. There is no putting him out of power, because even if he did get defeated, even if he was thrown in the fucking washing machine, he's still the perfect model. He is still prototype. He is still a perfect doll. So his position isn't just going to get ripped away from him like that. It's like trying to dethrone a king, but it's like trying to dethrone a king, but you have no one else to rule, basically. I guess that was just the French Revolution. Anyway, yeah, I think he should have kept his position, and I honestly would have enjoyed seeing an ending where the Uglydolls, specifically Moxie and Ox, help him with his mental issues, because it's pretty damn obvious he's messed up in the head. I mean, obviously go about it in like a nice way, because, you know, kids don't know about mental illness, but, you know, helping people, isn't it also a good message to help others, you know? Fucking stupid ass movie. And I also would have enjoyed actually some sort of like heartwarming scene where Lou and Ox talk and rekindle their friendship. I would have found that so much more heartwarming than Moxie's bitch ass getting to go to the big world. I honestly hated that scene. And, you know, certain movies with, certain horror movies too, like The Way I Know I don't like a horror movie is if I'm rooting for the antagonist. Like fucking Would You Rather did that to me, Truth or Dare did that to me, Amusement kind of did that to me. Anyway, I digress. For the past however long this video is, I have put up footage of myself drawing Lou and my own version of Lou. It's like a not a side-by-side, but like a, I don't know, whatever the vertical version of a side-by-side is. But at the end of the movie, particularly during the credits, we see the aftermath of Lou, you know, in the washing machine. His hair and suit are completely unkempt at that point. However, my redesign doesn't reflect this at all, mainly because I'm going with my own ending when I redesign him, the ending that I discussed previously. As you can see, his suit is still very much intact, and his hairstyle is still perfectly fine. But now it's sort of fringe cut and covering one of his eyes. Why, I hear you asking? No, it's not because I just like drawing boys with emo hair. I actually don't like it. I hate it. I'm one of the few artists who prefer drawing the other eye over drawing emo hair, but still, I don't think someone, not even Lou, can handle, just holding this huge piece of equipment, this giant needle, and doing all of the fucking Pirates of the Caribbean moves that Lou is doing. There's no way someone could do that without getting hurt. But, you know, since it's a kids movie, they couldn't, like, show any, like, accident happening with the needle, so they were just like, he's perfect, he can hold the needle. So I decided to take it upon myself in my own little, I guess AU at this point. I took it upon myself to headcanon he got himself stabbed in the eye while fighting, which I want to say gave Lucky Bat the opportunity to disarm him. Now, why do I say this? Because let's be honest, go back and look at Lucky Bat. Motherfucker couldn't fight for shit. He is so small and frail that he could not fight for shit. He would need Lou to already be hurt in order to disarm him like that. Like, maybe it would be harder for me to make that case if, like, Wage was fighting him, because, like, let's be real, Wage is a fucking ab girl. But anyway, yeah, Lucky Bat, why would they choose him to fight? I didn't draw, like, a bust or a full body of him, so you can't see it here, but I'd also like to headcanon that Lou is a ball-jointed doll, or, like, a porcelain doll. Whereas the other dolls, you can kind of see it in their texture. They seem to be made of cloth or felt. And the reason why I made this decision is because I think the corporation that makes the dolls would have done this, because, you know, he is a prototype, so he shouldn't be able to get damaged like a normal doll. You know? Like, just logic, really. Okay, so anyway. It's now time for my final thoughts on Lou and Uglydolls as a whole. To summarize, Uglydolls is just a fucking shit movie, and Lou is, like, the only good thing about it, really. Okay, actually, scratch that. I do think it's some fun little LGBT representation that both female and male dolls, like, swoon over Lou during the Ugly Truth scene. I think that's fun. I like that. But to be fair, it was probably just an animation oversight. which makes me sad. But I like to pretend that the male dolls are gay, or like Pan or something. Do I think Lou is a flawless character and that his actions were justified? No, not really. If he succeeded, oh god. I don't like thinking about him succeeding in that because, like, Jesus fuck. But anyway, he has good reasons for going to the extremes he went to. I've already listed, he has good reasons for doing what he did. So I want to close off this video by saying I think this movie should have given Lou a better ending, a good ending. Like, again, what Sunset Shimmer got. Either that, or at least make him, like, if you're going to make this movie the way it is, if you're going to make it, he gets a bad ending, he's tossed in the washer, make him a less likable character, so then we don't feel bad when he isn't forgiven. It honestly feels like Lou was the only characters that the writers used their brains for. Like, he's the only one who actually has a really, like, fleshed out personality. Like, not even Mandy has that much of a fleshed out personality. It's just, I wear glasses and I'm insecure about it. But anyway, that is all for this video. Thank you for listening to me rant about this old 3-year-old topic. I'm very late to the party. My girlfriend says hi, and I'll see you all in the next video if I make one.